I've noticed with people though making the big error when the push pressing like an axle or a barbell, that if you slow mo the video as the rack position may appear to look good, and then as they go to drive out of the bottom, their elbows are dropping, the bar's going forward, the leaking power, the bar paths all out or whatnot. And I see people chasing this kind of this what they seem to seem to see as like a perfect rack position with the kind of elbows. You see people with the head back, elbows pointing forward like that, and then trying to push press from that rack position. And I just think it's a massive problem, and I feel that a lot of people will have a lot more success in trying to find a rack position with their elbows a little bit lower in terms of applying leg drive. And basically, you're trying to, regardless of implement. So I'm talking about barbell more here, I suppose. But regardless of implement, you're trying to find the rack position where where the object you're lifting is connected to your body, that you can maintain the exact same position when you land the clean, when you do the eccentric and you dip, and when you begin the drive, and the elbows and the upper body stays in exactly the same position. So a lot of people seem to be romantically attached to this kind of position that looks like a front squat with their elbows forward. And although I do think that this is a fantastic way to build rack flexibility, and I do find that it's a really good way for people who struggle with, say, getting a rack position where they're lifting a log or an axle or whatever, and they're feeling any contact with their body. I feel like building the flexibility in terms of front squat ability over the course of time will significantly improve the rack position that will be transferable, but it is subtly different. What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, I laugh when this question came up because we've literally recorded something on this recently. But yeah, no, I completely agree. The the front squat rack position, really, you're just looking to get balance in your front rack. It doesn't really matter too much where the elbows are facing or pointing, etc. So the cue most people use is elbows high, don't they? Whereas the push press, the whole goal is to transfer the force to overhead. So you find that most people would want their elbows a lot lower, and a full grip on the bar is, in my opinion, that's the best cue. Is full, like, because basically people are going to front squat rack position and they'll be on the fingertips.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get their elbows so high. I would rather somebody's elbows come down and be in full grip of the bar, so that as soon as it leaves the shoulders, they can press, instead of elbow being so high and in fingertips that the bar leaves the shoulders, and then they've got to adjust the hand to grab the bar and then bring their elbow under. You know what I mean? It just adds this extra element in between the transfer of power from the legs into the overhead. And it throws people off, and it also means they miss that cue of accelerating the bar. It turns more into push, catch, press rather than through and accelerating through. So yeah, it is two different racks for sure.
I think a lot of people get confused by watching weightlifters who are really flexible or whatever, and it may appear that they're catching a clean, and then some of them appear to jerk from or press from a similar position that they land the clean. But a good example here, if you can we see the screen? Good example is Sarah Davis. If you watch her, she recently, the last couple of years, she's like dropped her elbows a lot lower than she used to in the last few years.
If you watch when she lands this front squat, though, she lands it on like two fingers, pretty much, doesn't she?
Yeah, and then pops it up. Oh yeah, wait there. Yeah, so she's focusing on receiving it on the front delts, which is like the front squat essentially. But then her hands adjust significantly, and you see her elbows are almost down at more around 60 degrees than 90. So
she got straps on there.
I'm not sure. No, wrist straps. But
it's
yeah,
actually straps. I was confused.
you get the idea. So make sure that you're adjusting that, and yeah, that's it. So to recap, the rack position, you're looking to find the position where the object is connected to your torso, that you can maintain the exact same upper body position as you receive the clean, as you do when you begin the dip and you start to drive out the bottom. So this is the same whether it's applying leg drive to a block, a sandbag, whether it be a dumbbell, barbell, log. So don't get too attached to where the, like, trying to look pretty. Like, find that position where you can, when you apply leg drive, that the elbow, the upper body doesn't move, and that you can move that object in a perfectly straight line as you drive, which for a lot of people on the axle and the barbell, and actually log, I'm noticing it on a lot recently, is you see people with this kind of rack position here that looks really good in terms of the logs. Say the logs balance nicely over midfoot, but as they go to drive, their elbows, and you're bringing your upper body into it, their elbows are kind of going back there. So you'll see with a lot of people in this kind of rack position, yeah, rather than, I prefer somewhere more like this, Shane, where you're like here, and then as long as you can maintain the...
Well, as that on the log, when you see that rack position, the log's like, handles are facing like this way. So that as soon as it goes overhead, it twists, throws the wrist off. I see it all the time. I tell Joe Sco this all the time because Joe Sco does it, and he always misses his maxes because his log handles are pointing literally vertical to the ceiling.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Exactly.
Yeah, so after the leg drive, it kind of like shifts horizontal really fast, like bang, and it throws his wrist, and his pressing line goes all out of whack. So yeah.
Yeah, so that can be a massively contributing thing to the elbow drop. Like we talk about a lot about, like, a lot of people drop the elbows forward on the log and the axle and stuff because of dip and drive mechanics. Yeah, but this can be a fix for people who have they look from the side and they're like, oh, my dip and drive's perfect, vertical torso, blah blah blah, but the log's still rolling. This could be a thing. It could be that the handles, like you're describing, is almost at 90 degrees from the floor. So if they're at 90 degrees from the floor, your elbows are pointing back. So when you're bringing your upper body into it, you'll see it if they slow-mo. People in this position slow-mo it. As they drive out, the handles will tilt forward. So you're in a bit more of a position where you can use the upper body. So like always, like we always say with a lot of lift, Shane, if you as soon as you take the tension, if your body is getting pulled into a different position, very often that's a message that maybe you should be a little bit closer to that position. And this is another example. So in an ideal world, like in terms of maximizing the upper body force production, you'd have the handles parallel to the floor. But the problem with that position is if you hold that position with the middle of the handles, then the log's going to be in front of midfoot. And this is why, again, we will never give like blanket prescription, like tilt your handles at this angle. It's always a sliding scale, and it's always like individual and depends on flexibility requirement, blah, 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 blah. It's very individual. So take what we say, go and apply it to your own context. Let us know how you go.